Comics Plus, what is going on, Akasan? We were just talking about earlier when I was making breakfast. We were just talking about post-credit scenes in Phase 4, aka Phase Bore, that we felt like didn't really do anything. Like, we're still waiting for some sort of resolution for the Shang-Chi ring thing that was, 2-3 years ago? I don't know. So I just saw this on Key Issues here about superhero post-credit scenes that went nowhere. We already know that Superman's going to be one of them. So it's been 9 years since... and I just finished watching. I didn't watch Morbius, but I just happened to catch the post-credit scenes of Morbius, and holy shit, that was bad. Something to do with Spider-Man. All right, here we go. We're going to take a look here.
The secret scene in comic book films has become a staple of the genre.
A staple?
Studios was not the first to introduce a post-credit scene in films. They have certainly popularized it by
I'll do it myself.
Every single film they've ever done, with the exception of Avengers Endgame. Big Daddy Kevin Feige has said the concept of the secret scene was influenced heavily by the cult classic Ferris Bueller's Day.
Really?
Now, our
really?
is a bit younger, so if you haven't seen it, Ferris Bueller
Wow. You're
is
still here? Go home.
yeah. And girlfriend around Chicago, and it's most notably known for Matthew Broderick's regularly breaking the fourth wall to speak directly to the audience. The final scene after the credits ended saw Broderick.
I remember this was a big thing, dude.
Over and it was time to go. However, Kevin took that concept and adapted it to the general concept of cliffhangers or sneak previews, something comics had been doing for decades within their books. As the mainstream MCU
So Kevin Feige
audiences caught on, it became a driving force.
So Kevin Feige was the guy behind the end credits. I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised, but that's so interesting. All right.
In viewer attendance. Honestly, even to the detriment of some projects, Marvel was happy to add sneak peeks and Easter eggs into the next big adventure in every single film, much to the excitement of my wife, who asks me, "Who is that?" every single time we
Exactly.
these films.
Exactly.
Some films have a single scene, while some have multiple, with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 holding the current record for 5 secret
Yep,
scenes.
5. Yep.
As Marvel's success grew, other studios and properties took note and began including their own secret scenes with hopes of establishing the same level of hype towards their upcoming
And it went nowhere. Next time, baby. Next time.
next projects. But not every film is a hit, and some secret scenes never lead anywhere as the franchise dies, and you have to lie to your kids and say, like, hey, you know, Green Lantern was great, but he went to live on a farm upstate, and you will never see him again.
Wow.
Today, we are going to take a look at a few scenes that led to absolutely nowhere. Since I've already brought it up, let's start with one of the most infamous comic films of all time.
Oh, and that was the only good part, too. Yep, Mark Strong as Sinestro would have been perfect, dude.
Where they take a bad film and they say it's a misunderstood masterpiece. There are a ton of videos on why Green Lantern was a failure, so I don't really think I need to recap that or dispute it, but despite knowing the state of the film, the studio was still confident enough in it to allow DC to put a post-credit scene in the film. In the scene, Sinestro, the most well-known and popular Green Lantern villain, was shown obtaining the Yellow Lantern ring. Obviously, this implies that the sequel would have dealt heavily with the concept of the Sinestro Corps, a separate Lantern Corps.
Honestly, I might have to say, that's like almost perfect casting. Honestly, like Mark Strong, it's a shame. It's a shame that it just did not kick off the way it was supposed to. But damn, dude, Mark Strong would have been perfect for Sinestro. That's why DP eat it. Yeah, basically.
That harness the power of fear for their lanterns rather than willpower. However, the sequel was never greenlit, as shortly thereafter Man of Steel came out and the process of trying to build the Snyderverse began. The film barely broke even, and Green Lantern, one of my personal favorite superheroes, was buried as a franchise pretty much to this very day. Quite possibly one of the most perplexing.
And you know what's even crazier? So you guys don't like. I don't know if I should say this story, but it's okay. The impact that Green Lantern had on Warner Brothers in general was so significant. It was so detrimental to WB's budget. Like, there's some people I know that were working on a particular Green Lantern project because they were really banking on Green Lantern just going to be this huge new thing, right? And so their project got axed in the middle of production. They were like, why? And so one of the WB bosses were just like, come here, let me show you something. And they took him into this hall of inventory, and they opened up like, just imagine like a fucking Scrooge McDuck. You know how Scrooge McDuck has the what the hell? I'm not talking to you, Siri, about Scrooge McDuck. You know, Scrooge McDuck has the vault of coins everywhere, right? Just imagine these WB representatives, staff, being opened up to this vault in Burbank of just mountains and mountains of Green Lantern merchandise and toys that have been returned from vendors and distributors because they're not selling at all. And the next spot that it was basically going to end up going to a landfill and get burned somewhere. Like, it was like, that's how bad the Green Lantern effect was with WB. And that's one of the reasons why WB has been so hesitant on bringing Green Lantern back in any form or fashion in a major name, in a major way. Because it hurt them really hard. They thought they had the next Star Wars, but nope.
Flexing secret scenes that never panned out was Baron Mordo's scene from the first Doctor Strange. The origin story for the Master of Stephen Strange ultimately saw Strange and Mordo disagree on the methodology.
Okay, that's, you know what, that's kind of fair, but not really, because maybe. That's, we haven't really gotten a chance to dive deep into this at all, and maybe there will be none. Maybe.
Used to defeat the film's big bad Dormammu. Mordo renounces his sorcerer career and departs, but shows up in the secret scene to kill a magic user.
Yeah, Michael, that's kind of what I was alluding to, but I can't say anything more on that.
The secret scene implied that Mordo was preparing to wage war on the many sorcerers of the world, as his comic book counterpart had done for decades. However, the next time we see Mordo is simply a variant of him, Baron Mordo, who's the acting sorcerer supreme of another reality within the multiverse. Despite these two facing off one-on-one in the film, the fight literally ends when Doctor Strange parkours his way.
Yeah, I thought that was hella funny.
Chase after him.
And then he just dips.
Rewatch the fight. That's how it ends.
Yep, it's so funny.
Will the MCU universe's Mordo show up in a third Doctor Strange film? Who knows? But we do know a lot of the films showing up between now and the end of Phase 6, and a third Doctor Strange isn't one of the ones announced yet, so if they do make a third one, Doctor Strange and the Mordoverse of Madness is my pick for a title. You can have that one, MCU.
Oh, God.
Shazam! Fury of the Gods is
dropping soon,
and while many people expected Shazam's next villain to be the post-credit scene hinted Mr. Mind, from the first film, when the trailer dropped, we were greeted by a bunch of new made-up characters. That's right. The characters that Shazam fights in this upcoming film are completely made up for just this film.
Really? Did not know that. See, I don't follow Shazam, so... Oh, wow. Really? So there's like no connection. Like they were made up literally for the movie because they don't have Black Adam. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so I guess whatever on I guess it really doesn't matter if they're going to get nuked for the new DCEU or the new DCU. Wow.
This hero has decades of characters to pick from.
Can't use Black Adam.
Including Mr. Mind, who, was already set up at the end of the original Shazam, and instead we're getting the Daughters of Atlas. And I'm not saying that Mr. Mind is a strong enough character to carry a whole film, but at this point I've read every appearance of the character, and I think they could have made him pretty menacing. Speaking of Shazam characters we aren't going to see again, let's discuss how...
Oh boy.
hierarchy of secret scenes was about to change, but then it actually didn't at all. Black Adam quite possibly produced the most hype secret scene in the history of DC Comics.
But was it really a secret if all of your cast is literally your main cast is leaking it out before the movie comes out because they knew nobody was going to see this movie regardless? So, oh God. Remember that one guy who filmed himself and had 3 different camera angles and lighting in a movie theater? Whew! Just for that scene.
Films that the internet basically ruined a week before the movie dropped in theaters. The mid-credit scene for Black Adam shows the titular Man in Black staring down Henry Cavill's Man of Steel.
What's up, Cold War?
I believe in my heart that there's a reality out there in the multiverse where this movie gets made, and after its release, it successfully ushers in an era of world peace. In this
the
reality,
Rockiverse.
money is abolished, all healthcare becomes free. We explore the cosmos and became embraced by the Intergalactic Federation of Worlds. But, you know, back in our reality, Black Adam lost more money for Warner Brothers than the entire budget.
Yo, shout outs to Key Issues, dude. Like their timing with the facial expressions are just perfect, dude. Shout outs to Key Issues. Like, as someone who occasionally edits myself, that's great, dude.
Release its successfully
that grin right there.
World peace unseen.
This world.
In this reality, money is abolished, all healthcare becomes free. We explored the cosmos and became embraced by the Intergalactic Federation of Worlds.
Right here.
But, you know, back in our reality, Black Adam lost more money for Warner Brothers than the entire budget of the unreleased Batgirl film. Audiences' lack of familiarity with the character mixed with the general fatigue of superhero films and the looming complete DC Cinematic Universe reboot all contributed to a low performance of a film that not even Dwayne Johnson could save.
One of the best parts, one of the most effed up things I saw was after it was announced that Henry Cavill's not going to be Superman, people started putting this scene in reverse, so it looked like he's fading out.
Michael Mando,
oh boy,
Hall of Fame, played infamous Spider villain Mac Gargan in the mid-credits scene for Spider-Man: Homecoming. We can clearly see Gargan posturing with Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, for more information on Spider-Man's secret identity. While the future of Spider-Man in the MCU is a complete and utter mystery right now, it would be awesome to see Scorpion among the mixed. I guess technically this cameo could still play out, but it seems like the franchise has lost sight of the character considering there are now 2 sequels to Spider-Man: Homecoming and neither had anything to do or showed any mention of Mac Gargan whatsoever.
That's a good point. That is, oh man, that's a good point. It's because it's so, but you know, technically they were kind of doing it in Morbius, right? Like they're trying to get Morbius together as well. It's just messy when dealing with Sony. That's the problem. No guarantees.
Justice League was a film so bad, I don't want to admit that it exists.
Evil Morty.
So
I thought about that too.
It does not. Instead, I choose to only acknowledge Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League is probably the most infamous comic book film of all time. There was a time myself when I didn't believe that the film exists or it would ever see the light of day, but after years of persistent fan requests, HBO and Warner Brothers gave Snyder the financial means to revisit his magnum opus / swan song. The post-credit scene for Justice League saw a now-free Lex Luthor sitting on a yacht that's about half as big as the yacht that Garrick and I purchased, being famous YouTubers. Coming aboard the yacht, if you can even call it that, was Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke, a villain we have seen multiple times in TV shows, but never in a major motion picture. Undoubtedly, Joe's take on the character in future DCEU projects would have been awesome, with Deathstroke being the potential villain in Ben Affleck's Batman solo film, as well as having a
who knows?
4-episode miniseries written and directed by Gareth Evans, but sadly, as Ben Affleck leaves the DCEU, so did all the plans for Deathstroke. And the last film I wanted to discuss was Hellboy.
I mean, that's a bit of a reach, I get it, but you know, technically Zack Snyder's Justice League isn't canon to the DCEU regardless, so any post-credit scenes you're getting out of that, you knew were not going to go anywhere. So but that's a discussion that's between DC and Netflix at this point to deal with. Moving on.
Boy, a film that's just about horrible in every single way. Look, man, I've been a Hellboy fan for quite some time, and I have a pretty high tolerance for, awful comic book films. But
Ugh.
Hellboy took the cake. And since
Really?
seeing it in the theater, I haven't considered giving it a second viewing. It was that bad.
Really?
It is astounding to me that the studio believed the film might do well enough to earn a sequel. So well, in fact, that the film got a post-credit scene. The post-credit scene showed Baba Yaga, the fictional witch from folklore, bartering with Koschei the Deathless, a minor villain from a story in the comics called Darkness Calls. Her claim was that if Koschei killed Hellboy for her, Baba would grant his greatest wish.
God, look at that makeup work is fantastic, though. Baba Yaga.
To die. She didn't have to make good on that promise, though, because the horrible script, CGI, and pacing killed the entire franchise, and I don't expect another Hellboy film for years, and it really bums me out. And that is about it for comic book films with secret scenes that led to nowhere. But that doesn't mean that those are the only ones. There's some other ones that are out there, but I think that a lot of those projects still have a hope of having a sequel introduced or those characters introduced in due time. Thank you guys.
That is funny that they didn't really jump on any of the Marvel, like direct Marvel stuff too much. I guess the Doctor Strange stuff is kind of true, but there's something I remember there was a debate a few years ago as to whether or not the post-credit scenes are considered canon or not. Like, are they, like, if you actually watch MCU, if you watch the MCU movies, time-wise, are like, by the time, you know what I'm trying to say. What's the word I'm looking for? Chronology? Following the timeline, right? Anyways, so I heard the whole thing is like, if you watch those movies based on the time that they're supposed to actually come out, then the end credit scenes don't make sense anyway. So therefore, chronologically, thank you. So therefore, the end credit scenes wouldn't make sense anyway. So therefore, the end credit scenes are not canon. But I don't know about that. I don't know. I guess it's like either way, right? Because that was always the thing with me, especially the first two phases. I wouldn't watch, like, some people would watch those movies chronologically, but it was like I didn't like that because it kind of jumbled everything up. That's what was so great about those post-credit scenes, if you watch them with their theatrical release schedules, is because those post-credit scenes actually meant something. Iron Man, Tony Stark walks in on Thunderbolt Ross, and that's supposed to lead right into the next thing. Then you see the fucking Mjolnir. I think Mjolnir was at the end of the Incredible Hulk, I want to say. Yeah. And then that was the whole thing, was like I can't even think of his name right now. The SHIELD guy. Agent Coulson was the entire time was kind of alluding in every movie. He was like, okay, I got to go take care of something in New Mexico. And then we see it's Mjolnir, right? And then that later leads into Thor's movie. In Thor's movie, Hawkeye was there for a minute, and then we see him later in the Avengers. Like, that buildup was just fucking fan-fucking-tastic, man. Like, where those post-credit scenes, and then for me, probably the hypest post-credit scene is the one that most people don't really give enough credit to, and that was the end of Thor: Dark World. And at the end of Thor: Dark World, you see the Asgardians taking the ether to the Collector, who was in Guardians of the Galaxy. We saw all that, right? And from that point, at this point in time, we had no idea that these were Infinity Stones. And it was the first time, exactly, it was the first official name drop of the Infinity Stones. At that point, we just thought it was the cosmic cube or the tesseract, the orb in Guardians, and then the ether was just liquid Kool-Aid. Holy shit, I lost my mind. I lost my fucking mind when they name dropped the Infinity Stone. And it was like, it'd be a shame. We wouldn't want to have 2 Infinity Stones or something like that. And then fucking the collector, I think that was Benicio del Toro. He does not get enough credit for how fucking hyped that scene was. His ass was up here because his name is the Collector. And he's like, 2 down. I think he said 4 to go, like that. 4 to go. And I'm like, oh, shit. Bro, it was crazy. And then, yes, the fact that we had 2 gauntlets, the emails in BVS didn't generate any hype. Stop, Apex. Stop. And then so the fact that they were teasing the gauntlets previously in other Thor movies as well, and whatever, but just the fact that it was finally confirmed that that's the way they're going. They're definitely going for Infinity War. Oh, that was by far the best post-credit scenes that made you realize that, okay, they're not fucking around. This is going to be a huge thing. It took years to get to that point, but it wasn't just Thanos chasing impressing death and things like that, right? Now, in terms of on the DC side of things, I will say the post-credit scenes for Suicide Squad was pretty hype, dude. I thought that was kind of cool to actually see Bruce Wayne sitting there with Amanda Waller, and he's like, shut it down, Waller, or my friends and I will shut it down for you. I'm like, okay. Y'all ain't really a team, but okay, that's cool. Let's make it happen. I think that was before Justice League, right? So, I think it was after. Was that before Justice League? Suicide Squad? Or after? I think it was before, right? Anyways. But I thought that was pretty fucking dope to see. It was after, it was after BVS, so they weren't even an established team yet. So that it wasn't, but in another world, I could imagine them already being a unified team. Okay, hell yeah, let's make this happen type of deal, right? So, that's right, because Superman was dead at that point. So, I thought that was a pretty cool post-credit scene. But yeah, that Sinestro thing was such a fucking waste. Oh, it's so disappointing, man. Yeah. The Thanos grin I thought was pretty hype. The turn at the end of the video. Yes. Of course. That was good. But it was cool just because he was there and he's smiling. But the fact that they were gonna go full blown Infinity War already, and the fact that the fact that we had been sitting there for 2 or 3 movies, a few years at this point. Literally, the Infinity Stones stones were under our noses the entire time, but we just assumed it was the Cosmic Cube and other comic book worldly stuff. So I just thought that was such a cool little reveal that that was by far one of the best post-credit scenes for reals, dude. And I was always surprised that more people were not talking about that. Anyways, all right. That's it, guys. I got to move on to some My Hero Academia marathoning on Twitch. Make sure you check that out if you're around. And we'll talk to you on the next one. Let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite post-credit scene of any comic book movie? Good or bad, it doesn't matter. And are we still waiting on what the hell was the deal with Shang-Chi and the little beacon and all that? Are we going to get any explanations in Phase 5? God, I hope so. We got to start making some of this shit connect. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.